Alright, we're moving on from last week. If you remember on Friday, we went through some adding rational numbers, including fractions, obviously. And this week we're going to get into subtracting rational numbers. So before I do that, though, I just want to put a reminder on one of the rules that we're doing. So if you're subtracting a negative number, then you can rewrite it as a positive. And what that looks like, I'll put it off the side. So if you subtract a negative, so say 2 minus negative 3, so that's subtracting a negative. You can rewrite it as a positive, so it's 2 plus 3. So remember, we've gone over this a couple times before, but when you do see subtracting a negative, so you can change that into an addition problem. So keep that in mind as we work through some of the problems today. Okay, so let's jump right into it, and let's throw a mixed number and we'll subtract a negative number. So that'll incorporate a couple different things all at once. So let's look at a negative 4 and 1/7, and we're going to subtract that from a negative 6/7. Okay, so if we go back to our rule really quickly, we're going to rewrite this whole thing down here because we know that if you subtract a negative, you can make that into a positive. So here we're subtracting, we'll go to the hand so you can see it, we're subtracting a negative 6/7. So we're going to rewrite that. So I'm going to rewrite it underneath. So negative 4 and 1/7 plus 6/7. Okay, so remember that trick. If it's a subtracting a negative number, that becomes a plus or an addition. So now we can go ahead and work with this. So as before, I'm going to switch some things around here. First of all, we have a mixed number, 4 and 1/7. That's a negative, so we want to get rid of that real quick. So we have 4 times, and let me go through the steps again, just in case. But remember, that's a times. So 4 times 7, 28. And then we take that answer and we add the top, so put a little addition sign here, so that gives us 29. So we have a negative 29/7. Okay, we don't need to do anything with the 6/7 because it's not a mixed number right now. Okay, now we're where we can actually work with that. And the first thing we have to look at is, are the denominators the same? And in this case, they're both 7, so yep, we're good there. So we can go ahead and add the top. Now remember, one's negative, one's positive, so yeah, you guessed it, we subtract those. So 29 minus 6, 23/7. Remember, if you're adding and subtracting, keep the same denominator. And here we have to decide if that 23 is positive or negative, so we go with the bigger number. We look at a 6 here and a 29 here. The 29 is bigger, so we keep its sign, and its sign is negative. So we're at negative 23/7. So now we have an improper fraction, and remember, if your answer is an improper fraction, you need to put that back into a mixed number format. So to do that, we say, how many times will 7 go into 23 without going over? And that's 3 times. 7 times 3 is 21. So that gives us 2 left over. And we'll keep the same denominator, so 2/7, and that was a negative 3/2. So that's the first kind of a problem. So remember, if you have subtracting a negative, change that over to an addition. That'll make your life much easier. Okay, let's go to another example. Let's draw a line here, and we'll move that up for you. Okay, on the homework today, you are going to see some that are just regular, simple problems, subtraction problems. And so don't get confused. I had a couple people trying to change those into fractions, which you can do. But if you've already got a decimal as a number, you can go ahead and leave it that way. So if we have 12.8, and we're going to subtract 21.6. So again, we don't have a subtracting a negative, we're subtracting a positive. So we can rewrite this as 12.8, point better, plus a negative 21.6. Okay, so that's different from subtracting a negative. Subtracting a positive, you make it a plus, but then you've got to move the negative over to that second number. So that's the second kind that you're going to see, and we've done those before. So at this point, it's just a regular subtraction problem. So positive 12.8 and negative 21.6, and that's going to give us a 8.8. And I know this is negative, but if you want to look back at it, you can say which is a larger number, not looking at the signs, just the number. You have 21.6 and 12.8. The 21.6 is your bigger number. That's negative, so we're going to keep the negative sign. And that's all there is to it. Okay, the last kind of problem is I gave you one at the same denominator. I'll move it back down. This one I gave you the same denominator, so I want to redo one of them that doesn't have the same denominator just to show you and keep you in practice. And let's use negative 1/2. And let's subtract, so we can use our rule, a negative 5/9. Okay, so mixed numbers, nope, haven't got any, so we can go into changing this form or this equation around a little bit. And I'll do it by negative 1/2. And remember, we're subtracting a negative. Let me move the hand. So subtracting a negative. And when you do that, that becomes a positive. So we're just going to add 5/9. Okay, that was that first rule we went over. Okay, so now we have two fractions. We can go ahead and add, but on this one, if you look down, the denominators are 2 and 9. They're not the same, so we cannot add the numerators yet. So let's go ahead and solve that part of it then. And what I'm going to do is, remember I told you you had to find the least common number that both the 2 and the 9 will fit into evenly. And so I'm looking at that, and nothing jumps out in my mind right away, so we use our trick. If you can just multiply 2 times 9. And that doesn't always give you the least, but it will give you one that's common. And so in this case it does happen to be the least also. So 2 times 9 is 18, so we're going to convert both of those fractions so that they both have a denominator of 18. And to do that, let's go to blue again. And so to get 2 to be 18, we multiplied by 9, remember? So you've got to do the same thing to the top of that numerator to get the numerator over here. So this is also multiplied by 9. So that gives you 9 over 18. So negative 9 over 18. Remember, keep the negative sign in there. So negative 1/2 and negative 9 over 18 are the same fraction, or they're an equivalent fraction, let's say that. So now we've got to do the same thing over here. To get the 9 to be an 18, we had to multiply that by 2. So we've got to multiply this 5 by 2 to get this numerator also. Okay, and 5 times 2, of course, is 10. And so now we've taken a negative 1/2 plus a positive 5/9 and converted that over to negative 9 over 18 plus 10 over 18. Now, if you look at it, let's go back to white now that we've solved all that. Okay, so now we've just got our regular fraction in here. So negative 9/18 plus 10 over 18. So we just add the top. Now we've got a negative and a positive, and so we've got to subtract those. So we're going to end up with 1. We always keep the same denominator, so that's over 18. Now we got to decide, is that 1 positive or negative? So looking at the numbers over here on the numerators, not the signs, just the numbers, and we've got a 10, and then over here a 9. So the 10 is the bigger number, and it's positive, so we're going to leave that as a positive 1/18. So you'll see that as a problem too. So those are the 3 kinds that you're going to see today on this section of the homework, and we'll see you back in just a few minutes, and we will go over using a number line to look at some of these problems.